What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy Devin, and today I got my boy actually with us and a special guest, Dan Workman. We actually met through the Real Business Owners, and we actually got to meet in person in Texas a couple months ago. And both of us being datapreneurs and into fitness, and from what I've seen, the love for like outdoors and off-roading a little bit. I wanted to bring him on because
Right.
honestly, our journeys are definitely similar, different industries, but similar mindsets, similar lifestyles. So, let's get into it. So, Dan, what got you into identity graphics? And I don't even think I mentioned that, but he's the owner of Identity Graphics, and which is a wrap company, and we'll go into that a little bit. But what got you into wrapping?
It was a little bit of falling into it in a way, but in high school I had a little bit of graphic design background, and post high school I just went into sales jobs, selling door to door alarms. I sold signs for a commercial sign company called Yesco. And I did that for a few years. And then a friend of mine bought a vehicle wrap company. And that piqued my interest. I had toured a facility when I was working at Yesco, the sign company, who did a lot of the printing for them for banners and billboards and things like that. And when we were touring their facility, um, they had a station where they had people working on vehicle wraps, and this was 15 years ago, probably. And at the time that I saw that, I was pretty blown away at that concept of taking a huge sticker, sticking it to a vehicle, and getting it to adhere like it looks like paint. I'd never seen it before, so at that moment was the first time I ever saw it. Fast forward to when a friend of mine bought into a vehicle wrap company, or bought a company, and had no idea what he was doing. And with a little bit of sales background and sign experience, he kind of wanted to have me help him out with a few things. And after about a year of doing that, he decided he did not enjoy it as much as he thought he might, and just dissolved the whole thing. Um, Afterwards, I really enjoyed it. So after he shut everything down, I just started a new company up at about 6 months later, and that was 10 years ago this year.
Oh, wow. So you didn't really have, I mean, besides like the sales background, you didn't really have too much of that like entrepreneurial, drive until you kind of got into it and then loved the process. Right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah. I can't say that I had this entrepreneur spirit as a kid. Like a lot of people, say they were um, slinging baseball cards on the playground or snacks or whatever, things like that. I did, however, start my first business when I was probably 13. I went to do window cleaning as a teenager around my neighborhood. It was an idea my dad gave me, and I made it all to about two houses. And after my two houses, I said, I forget it. I don't want to do this anymore. I, I didn't have the entrepreneur bug early on. I mean, to be honest, I didn't even have much of a drive as a kid. I had to find that as an adult after my first son was born, and
Oh, wow.
starting this business.
Oh, nice. How do you think that your mindset had to shift from, or what shifts had you made from being like an employee or being, someone that did the alarm door sales and all that stuff to becoming a business owner? I'm sure that you started off, just yourself before hiring a team and led to you hiring a team. Like, how has your mindset and your identity shifted from that?
Back when I was doing door to door sales, some guys will say they loved it. I definitely did not love it. I did okay. I did it for 3 years, but it was a struggle every year to go out in the summer to do door to door sales. But that those few summers of struggling to, you're 100% commission based. So everything you're doing, you're generating your own income. That was my first experience with that. and it was a huge mental battle to do door-to-door sales like that. And that was my first taste, honestly, of doing something really hard that you had to continue to do to reap the rewards of. And so when I started my business, it was right short. It was shortly after my first son was born, right before I was about to get married, and just the thought of needing to provide and take care of a human being, let alone and then to take care of another human being who's going to be my wife, that lit a fire under my butt, like nothing else in this world. And um, I went from, early, I did the summer sales for a few years, but in between that, I had different jobs during the fall, and working at an MMA gym or at a bank. I was working at Wells Fargo one time, but I bounced around from job to job. And then as soon as I started my wrap company, there was no turning back. It was like I don't even know if I could say that I had the conscious thought like I don't want to fail at this, but it was at least subconsciously. I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to back off and be like, well, this didn't work out. And, if something was getting hard. So when I started, I actually started in my parents' garage, and I would go sell a wrap to a company. I'd offer to go pick it up from their location and give them the VIP treatment so they didn't see I was doing that out of a garage. Um, but that for the first 6 years, I was developing my mental fortitude and my mental strength to do these hard things that I really wasn't used to doing prior to having my firstborn, and getting married. And it was a struggle. There was nights where I'd be spending. I'd have a customer be needing to pick up a vehicle. This is after I got into a shop space, but needing to pick up a vehicle the next day, and it's 10 p.m. at night, and I'm only halfway done with the vehicle, and not wanting to disappoint my customer, or I never wanted to make that phone call or that email to say, hey, I need more time with this. So I would just stay up all night wrapping this car till it was done, and open the door for them to pick it up at 8 o'clock. And those nights and those experiences, um, I think have started to develop my mental fortitude to do just to really stick with this business and continue to grow it through any kind of hardship that comes along. And it's been a long process. It's been 10 years, and 6 of those years I was doing everything solo.
So when, like, in that 6 year span, when did you get your shop?
Um, so I worked out of a garage for about 4 months or less. So it wasn't very long, but after those few months of working in my parents' garage, um, I I was like, this could work. I enjoy it. I can do this well. I can make something out of this. So I started looking for a shop space and signed a lease. So I started the business in June of 2013 and signed a lease on my space in September of that year. And I've
Well,
actually been in the
and
same space since, but we expanded into the space next door, knocked down the wall, made it a little bit bigger, and we're actually at the point where we're outgrowing it now, and potentially looking for a bigger spot.
that's awesome. How long after you got your shop and you were doing it yourself? How long until you hired your first staff member or team member?
That was a lot longer than if I were to redo it or do it all over again, I definitely would do it a lot sooner. But I did it solo for 6 years. Um, and solo is everything from the sales process, designing the wrap, printing the wrap. I bought my own equipment to do everything, printing everything, laminating, installing, and everything in between that has to do anything to do with. I mean, I can't even say that it was a business at that point. It was just I had 12 jobs that I was doing everything all the time. So I wouldn't even call it a business until 4 years ago when I hired my first employee. Um, and and currently we're up to 6 employees full time, and continue to grow. We've pretty much doubled our revenue over the last 4 years every year.
Damn, that's awesome. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment right there. One, businesses, most businesses struggle to last 5 years. You've already doubled that. And then to continue to double your revenue, I mean, obviously things are working. When you said that
Yeah.
if you were to do it over again, you would have hired people sooner, like, can you explain like what was the realization, or if you're looking back at it, like hindsight, why would you have hired people sooner?
Well, I mostly because there was easily after a year of doing everything, I definitely had the knowledge to be able to teach somebody else to do it with me, and so the next 3 years were just a struggle, so to speak. To by the time that I ended up hiring my employee, it was almost out of necessity because I was so burnt out of these late nights or all nights or napping on the futon in the office. And I was so burnt out, and I had a lot of conversations with my wife saying, like, doubting myself, like, do I keep doing this? Like, this is ridiculous. Should I just sell off my customer base and do something else? And because it was a struggle. And as soon as I hired that first employee, that was the decision that we made, was like, well, if we're burnt out, let's try something different. And that different thing was hiring some help. And as soon as I hired that person, in my mind, I always thought, hiring somebody, how can I afford to hire somebody when we're barely making the bills and and having an okay living off of this income? How can I afford to hire somebody? And within the first couple months of hiring somebody on to help who had no experience, I had to teach them everything. Um, the Within the first few months, it was immediate recognition that I couldn't not afford to have an employee. Like, they immediately paid for themselves. We got way more work done. I was less stressed. I was less exhausted, and that feeling of burnout went away almost immediately, because now I had a different mission, which was focusing on anything else besides, at least when I got him trained up to be able to install by himself. But just that little hint of, I'm not doing this by myself, I've got extra help, made a big change in how I viewed the business.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, sometimes I know even for myself, it's one of those things where I know Trev and Kale have said it a ton. Like I've heard other people say it, like hire before you need the help kind of deal. But like
Yeah.
I've been in the same situation as you were, and me and my business partner bootstrapped the first gym together. We just did all the work, day and night, working 18-hour days. But it was because we had the goal of using pretty much our investment to reinvest into the business and continue that growth. And then it was like, damn, can we afford to hire someone right now and then bring them on when we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to do this? But then all of a sudden seeing either the workload that was taken off, or even just the mental stress that was taken off, sometimes that in itself kind of made it worth it. That you're
Yeah.
not stressed, like you said, you're in there all night long and you're stressing about not disappointing your customer, and those stresses eat away at you too. Um, what I do have to say is like something that interests me in your journey. How was your wife? Because you guys were engaged when you opened the shop.
Yeah.
Okay, so how was your wife in the beginning process of you opening the shop and through those rough years? Like, because I mean I'm probably going to be able to relate to this too from what it sounds like. How is that relationship? How is that dynamic? And with you guys?
She was always super supportive of the business. And but those nights when I would say, hey, I'm not going to be home for dinner, I'm going to be staying late. And she didn't love that, but she was supportive. She knew that, at least, what I think the reason why she was mostly supportive is because she was seeing the dedication that I had to the business, and that I wasn't, I'm not staying late to go hang out with the bros and go, go out with anybody or do anything else besides just work. And I think she appreciated that I was putting in the time and effort. And but there were like internally, I know she knew it, but externally, the immediate reaction anytime I told her that I needed to stay late was, Ugh,
Yeah.
all the time, every time. I I don't think it ever put a strain on our relationship, um, but it did put a little bit of a strain on our wedding week because I took a job that was happening the week that we were going to be getting married, and this job happened to be installing these van vehicle wraps on location at their location, and they were a very uniquely difficult wrap, and all I can say is carbon fiber is one of the most annoying vinyls to work with. It's textured, it discolors, it stretches weird, it's hard. And I had three giant vans to wrap in about a week and a half time. That at the time it was just going to be the outside of the vans, and once we got started, they're like, "Nah, let's do inside the door jambs and inside the door panels, and every nook and cranny." And vehicle wraps in general are just hard. And if you talk about wrapping door jambs, it's next level. And it was early on. It was early enough on in my business that I was like, "Yeah, we'll do that." And I completely misquoted what that would be, and I spent the entire week of leading up to my wedding every day and every night in Orem, Utah, half an hour from where I live, wrapping these vans up until literally the night before we went to get married. And that week, she definitely was not on board. It was, I mean, wives, ladies are stressed to the max getting married anyways, and this was not much of a help.
That's awesome. I mean, that's crazy. Like, so your wife, I mean, the reason I brought that up is because me and my wife got married right before COVID happened, right? And before that, I had my
Okay.
personal training business. I was making six figures. Everything was cool. Um, and I had always talked about opening this gym concept that I had. And it got down to pretty much before COVID happened, saying like, if you're going to do it, it's the time. Like, you know, put your put your actions where your mouth is. Like, let's go. And she met me when I was doing personal training and everything, so she knew my work schedule and dealing with clients and all that stuff, like similar to yours. And she didn't always love it, but just like it sounded like your wife was, you know, even though you might be tired or you might be drained on certain days, she was that person that was like your side by side, like, yo, you got this, like you need to snap out of it and just find the solution. um, you know, you don't need to sell your business or you don't need to give up and take the easy route, like, and give you that like
Yeah,
reassurance,
yeah, 100
right?
percent. She and my wife was for sure. She was that extra drive, extra push to keep going when I had my own doubts. She, the rare times that she would get frustrated never impacted me really like that. But if anything, she was a very very positive influence on my journey in this business for sure.
I mean, that's perfect because with entrepreneurs, I think everyone sees it, and I'm sure you've seen this over the last 10 years too. Everyone thinks entrepreneurial lifestyle is this glamorous, easygoing, you know, feet up on the beach with like a Corona in your hand, when, you know, they're going to quit their 9 to 5 because they're going to be their own boss and make their own hours. It's like, you don't realize that you now have no time clock. 24 hours is your time clock, right?
Yeah,
So if you don't have the right partner or spouse, it's definitely going to put more of a stress and more of a strain on you. And in both of our cases, I mean, luckily we were able to find people that were at least supportive and understood, because I know my family and her family don't always understand the entrepreneurial life and how it works and stuff, but she at least has my back in that and picks me up when I'm in my own head too. So, I mean, that's awesome to hear you guys like that. And I know you're a dad. How many kids you at now?
Four. Got 12-year-old, 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and a one that's almost two, about a year and a half.
Oh, oh wow. We have a kid that's almost the same age, but I only have one. So I can't imagine
Nice.
like my daughter's almost 2 in January. And honestly, I don't know how you do it, man. Like one kid is a lot already. Like four, that's nuts.
Bro, I actually kind of miss, I love my kids to death, but I do miss a little bit the days where I could come home from those early days in the shop, come home from work, and if I needed to do something, I could immediately get to it. There's none of that. There's none of that now. It's like, and come home, I might hop on the computer and do some designs back in the day, right? But now it's come home and I shut work off completely. Try to just be there for my family, for my kids, and we got cheer practice, basketball practice, football, like whatever it is. I don't want to ever miss out on those things, and that's another reason why I am really glad to have gotten to the point where I do have employees and a team that can take care of things at my shop. Because if I was still doing the solopreneur, uh, having 10 jobs to do everything, I absolutely would hate my life because I would be chained to my business and not be able to spend the time with my family like I want to. Um, and when they go to bed, I still have a couple hours to do the things I need to do. But when I get home, it's family time for sure, for at
No,
least
I
for a
mean
few
that
hours till they pass
yeah,
out.
that's a huge realization though, because a lot of people don't realize that right out the gate or even at all ever is that you do still need to spend some quality time with them because yes, you're building this for them or to pay the bills and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, if you're doing it and you're never there or you're not attentive when you are there, then it's one of those things that you lose that connection, that relationship that you were doing this all for. So I mean, that's massive that
Yeah,
that and you're a part of that because that's how I am. If I'm hanging out with my daughter or spending like quality time with the wife, it's like my phone isn't like you can text me, you can give me a call, and I'll answer when it's work time again.
yeah. And I'm not perfect at it, but that's the goal.
Right.
Is to put time into the family and not be glued to the glued to the phone, glued to work. And there was a time that I was doing that, and I would have literally just have my phone glued to me at all times when anybody called, anybody text. But the more things going on with the family, I don't know if there was a specific moment that happened, but and it could have honestly been through some podcasts, catching a podcast or catching a reel from somebody talking about certain things. Like, because honestly, the last couple of years is when I've really been soaking in and podcasts and audiobooks, and only the last couple months have I actually been able to turn a page on a book. Um, but so it could have been from something like that where I picked up like pay more attention to your kids, but um, definitely for the last couple of years, it's been forefront of my mind to not do work while I'm with my family.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I know, I know you get it in the group a little bit about the, not actually reading books. I mean, I was the same way, honestly, probably until like the last year or maybe 2 years, but I just did audiobooks and podcasts and stuff as well. And honestly, I mean, there's
Yeah.
just as great information in all of that stuff too. There is a different like takeaway from when you're physically reading, or for me, the way I think about it is when I'm actually reading, it makes me a better at writing text or emails or for some reason it just kind of there's a different takeaway from it, but obviously the information is
Mm-hmm.
the information. um, so how important to you is like when I say books, like I mean audiobooks and books, but like podcasts and books and audiobooks, like how has that helped you and shaped your mindset overall, like as an entrepreneur, as a dad?
Huge, absolutely huge. The and especially in the last couple years, and even more so, it's compound. I feel like it's compounded this year in 2023 for sure. But I would say the last couple of years is when I've dialed into listening to podcasts for the last 2 years, um, audiobooks, and now starting to actually turn some pages, which Trevor always gives me shit, but not anymore. I'm a page turner now. So, but it's, I wouldn't say I'm a fast habit maker. It takes a long time for me to start a habit or to do anything new. Um, that's challenging. You know what I mean? And uh, it's been amazing. I feel like a grown up, right? So like before actually starting to listen to any kind of business or self improvement or any kind of podcast or audiobook like that, I'd go to the gym and it was just listening to my gym playlist, my like you know you got
What kind of music? What
you
kind of
got
music do you listen to
your
when you work out?
uh, it was you got your Disturbed, you got Corn, you got some Linkin Park. That was like my gym playlist for a decade, like forever. And once I switched from listening to music, which occasionally I'll turn on something when I want to get a different kind of workout, uh, but listening to podcasts, it has completely changed how my day starts. And so I listen to Trevor and Kale's podcasts religiously. The RVO podcast is my number one. But I'll listen to a few others that in the morning when I'm working out, it just puts my head in a completely different space for the rest of the day. And it's hard to describe unless you kind of are doing it. But prior to that, daily business life was for me was not a struggle, but I'd go to the gym and show up to work, and it'd take me an hour to get started for the day. Whereas now I'm pre-planning my day the night before when these kind of things just weren't really on my mind. Do you know what I mean? Like it's been this self-reflection through what other people are doing. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
before listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, listening and reading, I could only do what I think was good. But until I heard what other people might be doing differently than me, I didn't have anything to compare it to. So I didn't know what I was doing wrong until I heard other people doing things better than I was. I'm like, oh, I need to, I should probably do this. I should probably plan out my day before I go to sleep instead of the morning of, right? Stuff like that.
No, definitely. And I mean, that's how I am too. Like for me, I usually like I'll do my reading in the morning, and it's not for the like sake of like, oh, I'm gonna crack open a book and sit back and relax. For me, like before I start getting into the flow state or anything like that, like I'll read because now my brain, it's almost like a warm up. Like when you work out, you warm up before you start lifting heavy or anything like that. So if I'm reading or I'm listening to a podcast or whatever the case is, right out the gate, it's one of those things where I feel like I can start my day on a higher frequency than if I didn't read or I didn't listen to something that was going to be productive right off the to start my day off.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I it's same, I feel the same way. And it used to just be the gym. If I missed the gym in the morning, then I didn't feel as it's like it's a win. Like if I didn't go to the and I didn't realize that until other people put that language in my head from listening to podcasts and reading books and stuff, or listening to books. Because those are things I learned early on was how you know Ed Milet and Andy Frisella, they talk a lot about winning and small wins and winning throughout the day. And I started noticing that, yeah, if I don't go to the gym or somehow if I miss a workout, my whole day is off. I don't feel the same. I definitely feel like I missed out. And now the same thing happens when I don't listen to something productive or learning or feeling inspiration from something. I feel like that's not a loss for the day if I don't get something in early on in the morning.
No, definitely. Has fitness always been something that's been big for you? I know you mentioned fitness a couple of times. Like, is that still, is that, have you, like, were you an athlete growing up and now you just lift, or is it always just been something you do on this as recreation?
It's been something I've done almost my entire life. I played football growing up as a kid, um, and had a back injury early on that kind of prevented me from playing into high school. But so I ended up running track, which was it was fun. It was good. But in when I was 12 years old, my so I can attribute my gym lifestyle or my gym habits from my mom. And when I was a kid, she would wake up at 4:30 in the morning and go to a gym class at 5 o'clock um, every other day of the week. And I think at some point she just asked if I, either she asked me or I might have asked her if I could go with her or something like that. And I started going with her to the gym at around 5 o'clock in the morning before school. Um, and that started my love for the gym and my appreciation for fitness in that aspect. Seeing my mom work out and go to classes every other day during the week at the butt crack of dawn was, honestly I didn't really realize it until a couple months ago when I really thought about it, because somebody asked me the same question, like how long you gone to the gym? I was like, forever. And I the only downside to going with your mom in the morning, especially my mom, because my mom wasn't the one. She wasn't the kind of person to come into my room and bang on the door and say, "Get up, get your ass up, we're going to the gym," or anything like that. It was, "Hey, sweetie, do you want to come to the gym?" And most mornings I would go. Occasionally, I would go reluctantly and fall asleep in the car, and she wouldn't wake me up to go into the gym, and I'd be asleep in the car parking lot. Uh, but that was early on, and eventually it became a really good habit for me. And working out all through high school for track, post high school, um, and I haven't missed a week of lifting weights since I was, I don't know, 13 probably.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, even through your whole entrepreneurial journey too, that's where people start to lose it is, you go through the struggles of starting a business, the stresses of a business, you got married, you had kids,
Yeah,
and you know, a lot of people would have fell off on any given one of those, and you continue to push through it. And that's where I think, that disconnect and the realization for people that fitness is, while it is more than just being fit and being healthy and looking good, feeling good, like the other things that come from it, like it relieves your stress, it, makes you sleep better, it, all these other little things. And to make it such a habit and realize it was such an important part of your life when all these other huge pieces of your life are getting added, that's honestly not a lot of people could say that. So I give you kudos to that.
yeah, thanks, man. And I 100% agree. And it's been awesome because this last year I've been able to take my as soon as he turned 12, is when they let you get a gym membership at our gym. As soon as he turned 12, we got him a membership, and I started taking him with me in the mornings before school, and it's turned into just an awesome teaching experience, bonding experience with me and him. I actually worked when I would go when I was a kid. There was a guy there at the gym who my mom would go do these fitness classes, and this guy, huge dude. I don't know. I assume he maybe did bodybuilding, and for whatever reason, he would work out with me and teach me uh, routines and everything. So I learned a lot of working out from this guy at the gym, who was a friend of my mom's or whatever. But now I get to teach my son who's 12, or actually he's 13 now, and it's so awesome to take him to the gym and teach him fitness, teach him different things about weightlifting and your body, but also apply it to life and these little mini life lessons, um, and that all revolve around the harder and the more work you put into something, the more reward you'll get out of it. That's usually the simplest and the general theme of a lot of the lessons that I talk to him about is you'll reap the most rewards the harder you put the effort into it, and it's whether that's his schoolwork, the amount of effort he puts into lifting a weight, or jumping or getting better at basketball. It all has to do with how much effort you put in to and consistent effort that you reap the rewards of. And it's really cool to see him hopefully soak that in, because it could just be going in one ear and out the other completely.
No, I guarantee. I like, honestly, I would put money on it that it's probably even resonating more than you think. Whether he realizes it now or not, like he might not be able to tell you the lesson word for word, but the consistent, little mini life lessons, or relating it to school, stuff like that, it starts to, and then you forcing him. I'm assuming you don't let him sleep in the car, if and stay in the car if you're
No,
going to the gym, right?
yeah, right,
So
yeah. He doesn't
it's
get
it's
that
one
option.
it's one of those things where those things, 5-10 years down the line, his habits and just the way he views the world is going to be shaped on these moments right now, right? Whether he continues to work out, and without a week off, that's a different story. But the habits and being consistent and the discipline, and realizing that life happens in progressions, and you have to progress up to, let's say, a certain weight, or to do the next, difficult task. All those little things are shaped, one, with you teaching him, but two, watching you do it. You're doing this whether he's there or not, but he knows you go to the gym with or without him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He knows that your business is building, and through all your hard work and your consistent effort and your progressions, this is what can happen if you just are committed and disciplined and all those things. So he's seeing it, he's hearing it, he's literally watching it, and when he's at the gym, he's feeling it, you know, and
Yeah,
honestly, that's huge. I can't. That's one of the things I do look forward to, is when my daughter's a little older, that getting to work out and stuff with her, because obviously it's a huge part of my life. But that's awesome, man.
yeah, it's cool.
What
It is a lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot.
do you guys do a lot of active things as like a family? I know I've seen like pictures of, look like those ATV, not ATV, like the razors
Side
or
by side,
whatever. Yeah,
razor.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
side by sides. Do you guys have like dirt bikes and stuff
yeah,
like
we
that?
do. Yeah, my youngest boy, he loves dirt bikes. We've had a side by side for a little while. We love going outdoors, going camping in Utah, southern Utah specifically. There's a lot of UTV trails, and Moab is one of our favorite places to go. St. George, go to Sand Hollow down there. And for me, it's a family event. I love loading everybody up in the razor. We've got seat for everybody. We strapped the baby to a carrier on my wife, and everybody else has got a seat in the back. And we hit the jumps. We crawl up steep things, and now we keep it safe. We keep it safe when they're in there for sure. But every once in a while, you got to kick them out to go on a dad ride that's a little bit more aggressive.
So can you just ride like straight out from your driveway and just take it, on the street, or do you have to take it like in a toy hauler and, go on a trip?
Uh, it's street legal, so we could ride it around. We could ride around wherever. Most of the places that we'd go to ride recreationally, we have to take it on a trailer, only because it's just far enough that it wouldn't be worth it to drive it on the freeway going somewhere. It'd be fun, but it wouldn't be fun for long, I don't think.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, we had dirt bikes, growing up. I mean, we still have dirt bikes, but we
Yeah.
in Southern California, it's not like you can just ride it even anywhere near where we're at in Los Angeles. So we actually had to
Oh.
pack up the toy hauler and go up to Mojave and then unload. So it was a whole like weekend thing. So it wasn't just like a day thing. Um,
Oh
how
yeah.
often do you guys ride?
We go to Moab at least once a year. That's usually a couple day, 3 day trip. St. George is usually like a weekend thing. We do that. We did that a couple times last year. Go to St. George, and then closer to our house, we've got a couple places that are within an hour that we'll probably go. I don't know, a few times during the summer. And then my boy, he rides his little Yamaha 50 PW50. He loves that thing, and he's probably already outgrown it. But um, last spring, or excuse me, last fall, he split his toe open, like like this in between his toes
Oh damn.
when he was riding his dirt bike down the sidewalk, and his foot caught a fence that didn't have a boot on it. He just had his tennis shoes, and his foot caught a fence and split the webbing in between his toes. It was disgusting, but it he had to take a break from his dirt bike for a minute to heal that up. And then in the spring, he broke his leg, jump on a trampoline. So his winter and spring, he had to just park his bike in the garage, couldn't touch it. So he was itching for his leg to heal so he could finally take it out and ride, because I think we got it right before he split his toe open. He'd only had it for maybe a month, and yeah, he's one of those kids.
Was there any hesitation, or because he's able to ride now? So is there any hesitation on him getting back on, or the first time he got back on?
No, not at all. He's no, he's he's gonna be a set for life kid. Like, I'm not worried about him at all. He's got the personality to be very very determined, very aggressive, and he's gonna be a great kid. Yeah, and a great anything that he does.
That's awesome. Well, everyone that we have on the show, I like to ask them the one question. I'm sure you heard it on the other ones, or we kind of talked about it. But what's the one piece of advice or one key thing that you would like everyone to know about entrepreneurship, about relationships, whatever the case is, but one key piece of advice that you would like to leave?
Um, I'll leave two things. Number one, if you're doing any kind of business by yourself, solopreneur, don't don't do it for long. Hire the help, hire the employees, hire whatever you need to do to grow a business, and not just have a job or 12 jobs that you're married to, that you have no way of separating yourself from. Because if you're the only person in your business doing all of the jobs or most of the jobs, and you step away or something happens to you, you don't have a business. It dies. Okay. That's number one. Number two is, when you do hire those employees and you have that help, take care of them, because they are your lifeblood for your business. And you're not, you may not, especially at the beginning, you may not have the same people that you very first hired. Um, Most likely you'll end up replacing those people. And I've replaced, I have a completely different team now than I did a couple years ago. But that's not necessarily because I haven't been trying to take care of my team. But even when you start having employees, make sure that that's a main focus of yours, is to take care of your employees, pay them accordingly, care about their family, care about their life, and don't treat them like they're just completely disposable, because to you they're not. They're the lifeblood of your business, and they may not stick around forever, but you could have a big impact on them in whatever they're going to be doing, and vice versa. They can impact on you and where your business goes. So that'd be my advice.
And that's going to be an eye opener for someone for sure, because that's huge. That is a realization that a lot of people need to have now, or have needed to have for the last year or two in their business or in their life. Honestly, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and hopping on the Mindset Cafe. I
Hell yeah,
definitely look
bro.
forward
Happy to.
to meeting up with you again. I know we got to chat it up in Dallas, but we definitely got to link up. You're not too far in Utah from California, so
Yeah, buddy. Let's meet up in
well,
Vegas.
yeah, definitely. We'll definitely catch up and we'll talk soon.
All right, man.